The galactic assembly chamber held 3,000 species in careful balance for 3,000 cycles. That balance had remained unbroken. Laws passed, trade flourished. Wars ended before they began, one lost it above all others. Article 0, first clause, no vessel-bearing assembly. Registry will enter the Sol system. No communication will be directed toward the third planet. No observation, no contact, no approach. Leave humans alone. The Rigidar ambassador, creature named Vosk, whose species had risen to prominence in only 800 cycles, found the law absurd. His people built their civilization on expansion, on resource acquisition, on the simple mathematics of power. How could a species confined to a single system inspire such caution? He stood before the Assembly's High Council, his four manipulator arms spread in practiced appeal. Honored representatives, I ask again, what evidence supports this ancient restriction? The humans possess no interstellar travel. Their technology, from our long-range scans, remains primitive. They fight among themselves over lines drawn in dirt. The chamber remained silent, not the silence of agreement, the silence of those who remembered. Counselor Meering of the Vendari rose. Her species had held a seat on the High Council for 2,000 cycles. Her skin, the color of deep ocean water, rippled with patterns older than the Ridger's written language. You ask for evidence, Ambassador Vosk. I will provide it. She extended a single slender digit toward the chamber's central display. 3,000 cycles ago, the Varth Dominion attempted what you now propose. They sent a war fleet of 800 vessels to conquer Earth. Vosk scales tightened. What happened? The Varith Dominion no longer exists. Their home world remains. Their species remains. But their capacity for war, for expansion, for anything beyond subsistence farming gone. The humans did not invade them. The humans went to their home world, disabled every weapon, dismantled every ship, and left a message. What message? Mayans' pattern shifted to a color no Ridger had ever seen. We have no interest in your territory. Stay out of ours. Voss's translator struggled with the tone, not threat, not warning. Statement of fact. One species, Vosk said 800 ships. That was 3,000 cycles ago. The humans have not advanced since. Our scans show. Your scans show what? They allow you to see. The words came from a corner of the chamber where no representative sat, a maintenance drone, its casing dented and ancient, projected a hologram of a being Vosk did not recognize. Bipedal, 2 arms, 2 eyes, arranged horizontally, skin the color of tan soil. The hologram smiled. I'm sorry, the being said. Were we having a conversation about humanity? Please continue. The chamber erupted. Species who had not spoken in centuries activated their translation systems. Representatives who had dozed through 10 cycles of debate now stood frozen. Mayans' patterns went pale. You are not authorized to access assembly systems. I'm not authorized to do a lot of things. The human's image tilted its head, and yet here I am. Ambassador Vosk, you have a decision to make. Your survey fleet is currently 3 light days from Earth. If they cross the boundary we established after the Varth incident, we will respond. Voss's mandibles clicked in fury. You threatened the Ridger Empire. No, the human smile faded. I'm telling you what will happen. There's a difference. Threat implies uncertainty. I have none. The hologram vanished. Maintenance drone exploded into component parts, each piece melting into slag on the chamber floor. Vosk turned to Myron. You're ancient. Law has made you cowards. The Rigidar will not bow to ghosts and stories. He transmitted the order. His survey fleet moved toward Earth. 3,000 cycles of silence ended with a single Ridger commander's arrogance. And in the darkness between stars, something stirred that had not moved in generations. The humans were not primitive. They were patient. Commander Jorath of the Ridger Survey fleet expected many things. He expected primitive projectile weapons. He expected crude orbital satellites. He expected a species that would look at his 7 vessels and understand their place in the galaxy. His first indication of error came when his sensors detected nothing, no satellites, no orbital debris, no communications. Traffic, Earth hung in the darkness like a marble of blue and green, silent and pristine. Where are they? Jorth asked his sensor officer, Unkinkown. Commander, our scans show the planet is there. The moon is there, but every signature we expected to find is absent. Jorth's crest flattened against his skull. They're hiding from what? They have no way of knowing we're coming. The answer came not from Jorah, but from every console on the bridge. Simultaneously, a single ping, a sound like a stone dropping into still water, translated into electromagnetic frequency and broadcast across every channel. Then another, then 1,000. Earth's surface lit up, not with cities or lights, with launch signatures. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. Jorth watched as the space above Earth transformed. Ships rose from oceans. Ships rose from deserts. Ships rose from beneath mountain ranges where they had waited for longer than the Ridger had known space flight. They were underground. His tactical officer whispered, all of them buried silent. Waiting for what? For someone to knock. The first human ships reached engagement range in 43 seconds. Jorth had never seen vessels move like this. They didn't accelerate. They simply arrived as if distance meant nothing to their drives. Target the lead vessel, Jorth ordered. His weapons officer fired. Energy beams that could crack small moons struck the human ship. The human ship continued, not because its shields absorbed the damage, because its hull reflected the beams back toward their sources. 2 Ridger vessels detonated before their crews understood what happened. All ships evasive patterns. Jorth shouted, launch fighters deploy. His word stopped. A human ship no larger than a Ridger scout craft had materialized directly above his bridge. Not through the viewscreen, through the hull. It phased through armor designed to withstand stellar radiation and emerged inside his command center. The ship opened. 3 figures stepped out. They wore no environmental suits. They breathed the air Jorth's life support provided. Their skin was pinkish brown, their eyes forward facing, their bodies unremarkable in every way. The lead figure looked at Jorah. You crossed the line. Jorah reached for his sidearm. The human moved not fast, not slow, with the economy of motion that came from doing something 1,000 times. His hand caught Jorah's wrist. His other hand removed the weapon. His knee pressed against Jorah's abdomen. Not hard enough to hurt, hard enough to communicate. We're not here to kill you, the human said. If we wanted you dead, you'd be dead. We're Here to make sure you understand. Something. Jorth's crest flattened. Completely. What? The human gestured. Toward the viewscreen, outside the battle had stopped. Ridger ships hung motionless, their crews staring at displays that showed human vessels surrounding them on every axis. In 11 minutes, we disabled your fleet without destroying a single life support system. We could have done it in 4. We took 7 extra minutes because we wanted to make sure every recording device on your ships captured what we can do. Why? The human's eyes, brown and unremarkable, held Jor's gaze. Because we want you to go home. We want you to tell your leaders what happened. We want every species in your assembly to see the recordings. And then the human stepped back. His companions returned to their vessel. He paused at the threshold. Then leave us alone forever. He vanished. The ship phased back through the hall. The human fleet began withdrawing, not to Earth but to positions Jor's sensors couldn't track. 11 minutes of battle. 7 Ridger vessels disabled but intact. 1 species' arrogance shattered against a wall that had stood for 3,000 years. Jorth looked at his crew at the empty space where the human had stood. Set course for home, he whispered. We have a message to deliver. The message was simple. Do not wake the humans. They remember everything. Commander Tvek of the Ridger High Command watched the battle recording 17 times. Each viewing revealed something new. Each viewing made his blood run colder. The humans didn't fight like warriors. They fought like surgeons. Every shot disabled, every movement calculated. Not a single Ridger life lost, not a single human vessel damaged. He turned to his adjutant. What do our intelligence analysts say? The young Ridger scales had lost their luster. They say the humans held back. What we saw was not their full capability. It was a demonstration. A demonstration of what? That we are not worth their time. The chamber door opened. A communication officer entered, her crest vibrating with confusion. Commander, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from Earth. Tvek's Klaus dug into his command throne. On screen, the view screen flickered. Room appeared. Not a military command center, not a government building. Garden plants Tvek didn't recognize grew in careful patterns. Water flowed over stones, and in the center of this space sat a woman. She was old, not by human standards, by any standard. Her hair had gone white as starlight. Her skin carried lines that spoke of decades, perhaps centuries, but her eyes held nothing of age. They held something Tvek had never seen in any being. Certainty. Commander Tvek, she said, her voice carried no accent, no affectation. It simply spoke. Thank you for taking my call. I am Director Sloan of Earth's Unified Defense Command. I believe your people just met some of mine. Tvek forced his crest to remain flat. You attacked a Rid survey fleet. We defended our territory. There is a difference. She reached down and touched a flower, adjusting its position with a gentleness that made Tvek's translator stutter. Your ambassador asked our old friend Mirren for evidence of why the law existed. She gave him the Varth example. She didn't give him the others. What others? The woman smiled. It was not the smile of triumph. It was the smile of a teacher about to deliver a lesson. After the Varth, we assumed the message was clear. We were wrong. 14 times in the next 1,000 cycles, someone tested the boundary. 14 times we responded. Each response was different. Each response was tailored to the species that provoked it. Why different? Because we wanted to learn. Every contact taught us something new about alien psychology, about tactics, about technology. We took what we learned and we incorporated it into our defenses. She looked up from the flower. Commander, your species is the 15th to test our boundary. You are the first to survive with your fleet intact. Tvek's mouth open closed. Why? Because we're tired. The woman stood. She walked toward the viewscreen, her image growing larger. For 3,000 years, we have waited for the galaxy to understand a simple truth. We do not want your territory. We do not want your resources. We do not want to join your assembly or trade with your merchants or fight your wars. She stopped. Her eyes seemed to look through the viewscreen, through the distant, through TV's armor and scales and bones. We want to be left alone. That is all we have ever wanted. That is all we will ever want. TVE found his voice. And if we refuse, the garden behind Director Sloan changed. The plants retracted into the floor. The water drained. The walls shifted, becoming displays showing the same thing from 1,000 angles. The Ridger home world from orbit. The resolution was impossible. TV could see individual buildings, individual vehicles, individual Ridger going about their lives, unaware that human sensors watched them from somewhere beyond the edge of their system. We have had a ship in your system for 300 cycles, Director Sloan said. You never noticed because we never wanted you to notice. We have similar ships in every major system in your assembly. We have watched your rise, your wars, your alliances, your betrayals. Tvek's Klaus dug deeper. You've been spying on us for 3 centuries. We've been watching. There's a difference. Spying implies we want something. We just wanted to make sure no one made the mistake your species just made. She stepped back. The garden returned. The flowers bloomed. The water flowed. You have 3 solar days to withdraw all Ridger assets from within 10 light years of Sol. After that, we will consider any Ridger presence hostile act, and we will respond accordingly. The transmission ended. TVE sat in silence. His adjutant waited. His communication officer waited. The entire command center waited. Get me the assembly. TVE finally said. Get me every species who has ever spoken to the humans. Get me anyone who can tell me how to survive what we just started. Because Tvek understood something his ambassador had missed. The law wasn't about fear. It was about hope. Hope that humanity would never have a reason to stop being patient. The assembly chamber had never been so full. Representatives who had not attended session in 50 cycles occupied their seats. Species who communicated only through intermediaries sent their highest diplomats. The air carried 3,000 different pheromones, electrical signals, and acoustic frequencies, all expressing the same emotion. Fear. Counselor Myron stood at the central podium. Her skin patterns shifted through colors that had not been seen since the Varith crisis. The assembly recognizes Ambassador Vosk of the Rigidar Empire. Vosk approached the podium. His scales had lost their luster. His movements carried none of the confidence from 3 cycles ago. He had watched the battle recordings. He had read the intelligence reports. He had seen the human ship that had materialized above his home world without triggering a single alarm. The Ridger Empire requests the activation of the Mutual Defense Accord, Vosk said, his voice echoed through the chamber. We have been attacked by an unregistered species. We request that all assembly members provide military support against humanity. Silence, not the silence of consideration, the silence of species. Calculating survival. Mayans' patterns settled into neutral gray. The assembly will now hear from species with prior contact with humanity. The Vendari yield to the Var. Every head turned to a corner of the chamber where a single representative sat. The Varith had not spoken in open session for 2,000 cycles. Their representative, a being whose body had been altered by generations of genetic repair, rose slowly. The Varth, remember, the representative said. Their voice was a whisper, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. We remember the humans coming to our world. We remember them disabling our weapons. We remember them dismantling our ships. We remember them leaving. What did they leave? Someone called out, a message written in the sky above every Var city. We have no interest in your territory. Stay out of ours. We have obeyed that message for 3,000 cycles. We will continue to obey it. Vosk and LT Unk and GTS Mainables clicked. You would abandon the Ridger to face this threat alone. Varith representative turned, their eyes adapted for a world with 3 suns held no emotion. You brought this upon yourselves. The assembly warned you. Vendari warned you. The humans themselves warned you. You chose to ignore every warning. The humans attacked us. The humans defended their territory as they have every right to do. Under assembly law, the Var representative sat. The Rigidar broke Article 0. The consequences belong to the Ridger. One by one, other species spoke. Vendari offered diplomatic support, but no military assets. The 12 species who had also tested humanity's boundaries offered nothing but silence. The 200 species who had never heard of humanity before this crisis offered sympathy. No one offered ships. Vosk turned to the oldest being in the chamber, a representative from the species known only as the first. They had existed before the assembly, before written language, before any species now present had evolved. The first's representative was a being of liquid metal, constantly shifting, constantly flowing. Their communication method required no sound. Images appeared directly in the minds of every being in the chamber. The Ridger asked for help against humanity. The assembly must understand what humanity is. The images formed a planet covered in storms, oceans that could crush any known vessel, temperatures that shifted from killing cold to killing heat in a single rotation, gravity that would break the bones of most species. This is Earth. The humans evolved on a world that actively tries to kill them. Every moment of every day, storms that would destroy our cities are routine. Weather for them, temperatures that would force us into shelters are mild. Seasons for them, diseases that would sterilize our worlds are common. Illnesses to them, more images, humans fighting, humans bleeding, humans surviving wounds that should have killed them, humans watching their children die and continuing to function. The humans are not strong because of their technology. Their technology exists because of their strength. They learn to reshape their world because their world tried to kill them. They learn to defend their system because the galaxy keeps testing them. every contact has made. Them stronger, every attack has taught. Them something new. The images changed. Humans building, humans creating humans. Working together across divides that would have shattered any other species. The Varth asked why the humans left them. Alive, the answer is simple: the humans do not want war. They never wanted war. They want to be left alone with their families and their art and their gardens, but they are willing to fight. And when they fight, they do not lose. Voss's voice cracked. Then what do we do? The first image formed one final picture: a human hand reaching out, not in attack, not in friendship, in warning, leave them alone. That was the law for 3,000 years. It remains the law. Today, the only thing that has changed is that now everyone understands why the assembly voted. Not a single species stood with the rigid R. Vosk returned to his command center to find the human fleet already moving, not toward Rigger territory, toward everything the Rigger had ever built, the defense network around the Rigger home world was considered a masterpiece of military engineering. 3,000 orbital platforms, 400 weapons satellites, sensor grid that could detect a grain of sand at half a light second. Commander Tivek watched from the surface as the network activated, red lights traced across the sky as platforms came online. Weapons charged, shields formed. 17 minutes later, every platform went dark, not destroyed, disabled. The humans had done the same thing they had done to the Varith 3,000 years ago. They had found a way to shut down Rigidar technology without firing a single shot. How? TVE whispered. His tactical officer pointed to a display there, broadcasting something, some kind of signal. It's overriding our command protocols. From where? From the ship above us. Tivek looked up through the observation dome. He could see it, a human vessel no larger than a cargo shuttle hanging in the upper atmosphere. It had arrived 17 minutes ago. It had done nothing visible, and now the entire Ridger defense network belonged to whoever was inside that ship. We have ground-based batteries, Tivek said. Launch everything. The tactical officer worked his console. His crest flattened. Commander, the ground batteries won't respond. The signal is affecting everything with a processing core. TV grabbed the officer's shoulder. Then use weapons. Without processing cores, use kinetic artillery. Use chemical rockets. Use anything. The order went out across the ridge. Our home world. Weapons older than the defense network came online. Artillery pieces that had not been fired in a century aimed toward the sky. Rockets lifted from silos. The human ship moved, not fast, not evasively. It simply rose, increasing altitude until it was beyond the range of every weapon the Ridger possessed. Then it stopped, then it waited. Tivek's communicator chimed, a voice calm and unhurried. Commander Tivek, this is Director Sloan. Again, I wanted to give you a moment to appreciate what just happened. TVE stared at the communicator. What do you want? I want you to understand something. We could have taken your defense network offline before you even knew we were here. We could have disabled every weapon on your planet. We could have done all of this from the other side of your system without you ever seeing us. Then why didn't you? Because we wanted you to see us. We wanted you to know that we were here. We wanted you to understand that your defenses, your weapons, your entire military capability are irrelevant. The human ship descended again. It stopped at the exact altitude where the Ridger artillery could reach it. It held position. We're going to sit here for 1 hour, Director Sloan continued. During that hour, you can fire every weapon you have at us. You can try to hit us. You can try to destroy us. We will not fire back. We will not move. We will simply wait, and after the hour, we will descend to your capital city. We will land in your central square. We will walk to your government building, and we will deliver our terms in person. T-Vex Klaus trembled. You're going to invade our home world? No. We're going to walk through your home world. There's a difference. An invasion implies resistance. You won't resist. Not because you're cowards, because you're intelligent, and intelligent beings know when they've lost. Channel closed. T-Vex looked at his tactical officer. Fire everything. The bombardment lasted 53 minutes. Rail guns, missiles, directed energy weapons, everything the Ridger military possessed, thrown at a single human ship. The ship did not dodge, did not raise shields, did not even acknowledge the attacks, because it didn't need to. The weapons passed through it. Every shot, every missile, every energy beam phased through the vessel as if it weren't there. The human ship had learned how to exist in a different layer of reality, one that Ridger weapons could not touch. At the 54th minute, the ship began its descent. TV watched it approach the capital, watched it settle into the central square, watched the hatch open and 3 humans step out. They walked through streets filled with Ridger citizens. No one stopped them. No one tried to fight them. The Ridger were not cowards. They were, as Director Sloan had said, intelligent. And every one of them understood what the humans had just demonstrated. They could not be touched. They could not be stopped. And they had come to talk. The Assembly's emergency session convened in chaos. Representatives shouted over each other. Translation systems overloaded. Species who had voted against helping the Ridger now demanded explanations for why humanity had not been stopped. Counselor Mirren slammed her fist against the podium, the sound amplified by the chambers. Acoustics silenced the room. We will hear from the first. The liquid metal being rose from their seat. Images formed in every mind. The humans have landed on the Ridger home world. They have not killed anyone. They have not destroyed anything. They have simply walked to the government building and requested a meeting with Ridger leadership. Requested. Voss's voice cracked. They disabled our entire defense network. They made our weapons useless. They landed a ship in our capital square. That is not a request. That is an invasion. No, an invasion would have involved force. The humans have used no force. They have used demonstration. They have shown the Ridger what they are capable of. Now they want to talk about what the first form shifted. Images formed. Negotiations, treaties, boundaries. About the future, about what happens next, about how the Ridger can survive this without losing everything the Varith lost. Voss turned to the Assembly. You hear this? The first is negotiating on behalf of the humans. The first, the oldest among us, is working with the species that attacked us. Mayans' patterns flashed warning colors. The first is working to prevent a war that would destroy your species. Ambassador, perhaps you should listen. The chamber door opened. Every representative turned. A human stood in the doorway, not a hologram, not a transmission, a living human wearing Simple clothing, unarmed, alone, she walked into the assembly chamber with the calm of someone entering their own home. Director Sloan, I apologize for the intrusion, she said, her voice carried through the chamber without amplification, but I felt it was time we spoke directly. Security drones converged, weapons aimed, representatives pressed themselves against their seats. Sloan stopped in the center of the chamber. She turned slowly, making eye contact with as many species as possible. 3,000 years ago, after the Varth incident, your assembly created Article 0, leave humans alone. For 3,000 years, most of you followed that law. Some of you tested it. All of you survived because we chose to let you survive. She turned to Vosk. Your species did not test the boundary, Ambassador. You smashed through it. You sent a survey fleet to our world without warning, without communication, without any attempt to understand why the law existed. We were exploring. You were conquering. Sloane's voice remained calm. Your fleet carried colonization equipment. Your ships had terraforming supplies. You weren't studying Earth. You were preparing to take it. Vosk's scales went pale. How do you know that? Because we read your mission logs while your commander was watching our ships appear from nowhere. We were downloading every byte of data from your fleet computers. We know exactly what you planned. The chamber erupted again. Mirren's patterns flickered between shock and fury. Other species turned toward Vosk with expressions ranging from disgust to fear. You intended to colonize an inhabited world, Mirren said. You intended to displace an intelligent species. We intended to expand. You intended to break the oldest law in the assembly for territory. Mirren's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow filled the chamber. The Ridger are no longer under assembly protection. We will vote on expulsion within the cycle. Sloan raised a hand. That won't be necessary. Every eye turned to her. We're not here to break the assembly. We're not here to destroy the Ridger. We're here to offer a solution. She walked to the central podium. Mirren stepped aside, her pattern shifting to something that might have been respect. The humans will withdraw from Rid space within the hour. We will restore their defense network. We will return control of their systems. We will not demand territory. We will not demand resources. We will not demand reparations. Voss Manables opened. Then what do you want? Sloan smiled, the same smile she had worn in her garden, the same smile she had worn when she told Tivek about the ship in his system. We want Article 0 rewritten, not as a warning, as a law, a real law with enforcement provision. Any species that sends ships into human space without permission will face consequences, not from us, but from the assembly itself. Mayan's patterns rippled. You want us to police our own members on your behalf. I want you to police yourselves on everyone's behalf. The galaxy is full of species like the Ridger, ambitious, expansionist, willing to take risks. If the assembly can't control its own members, someone else will have to. She turned to face the first. You understand what I'm saying? The first form shifted. Images formed. Yes, the humans are offering the assembly a choice. Control yourselves or we will control you. Sloan nodded. That's exactly what we're offering. The chamber fell silent for the first time. In 3,000 years, the assembly understood what they had been avoiding. They hadn't been protecting the galaxy from humanity. They had been protecting humanity from the galaxy, and humanity had just proven they didn't need the protection. The Rigidar holding facility held 63 human prisoners, soldiers captured during the brief engagement above Earth. They had been treated well. The rigor were not barbarians, but they had been treated as prisoners. Now, with the war over and the humans preparing to withdraw, the time came for exchange. Valoris, a Ridger intelligence officer, watched as the human transport descended toward the facility. She had studied humans for weeks, watched their recordings, read their transmissions. She thought she understood them. She was wrong. The transport's hatch opened. 4 humans emerged. 3 wore military uniforms. The 4th wore civilian clothes. Woman with gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. Director Sloan. The prisoners. Sloan said, no greeting, no negotiation, just 2 words that carried the weight of command. Valoris stepped forward. They will be released when our people are released. Your people were released 6 hours ago. They're currently on their way back to your home world. Sloan tilted her head. Did your command not inform you? Valoris's communicator chimed. A message from High Command. Marked urgent. She didn't need to read it. The humans had already proven their point. She gestured toward the facility. Follow me. The holding cells were clean. The prisoners were healthy. Valoris had ensured both, not out of kindness but out of intelligence. She had known the war would end. She had known the humans would come. She had wanted them to see that the Rigger were not monsters. The 63 humans filed out of their cells. They moved with a coordination that made Valoris's scales tighten. No one gave orders, no one spoke. They simply formed into lines and waited. Sloan walked among them, touching shoulders, nodding, speaking words too quiet for Valoris to hear. Some of the prisoners smiled, some closed their eyes. One, a young, clears throat man with a scar across his cheek, simply stood at attention and wept. Valoris approached Sloan. Why are they crying? Sloan looked at her. They're not crying. They're breathing for the first time since they were captured. They're breathing. I don't understand. No, you don't. Sloan turned to face her fully. Your people treated these soldiers well. You gave them food, water, medical care. You never tortured them. You never threatened them. By your standards, you were merciful. And by yours, Sloan gestured toward the weeping soldier. That man is 23 years old. He joined the Defense Force when he was 18. He has trained every day for 5 years to protect Earth. When your fleet arrived, he was one of the first to respond. He watched your ships fire on his people. He watched his friends die. And then he was captured, dragged across space, and locked in a cell for 3 weeks. He was never harmed. He was separated from everything he knew, everything he loved, everything he was trained to protect. Sloane's voice remained calm, but her eyes changed. Your people broke him, Valoris, not with torture, with absence. You took away his purpose, his mission, his reason for existing, and you gave him nothing in return. Valoris wanted to argue. She wanted to point out that the Ridger had followed every regulation regarding prisoner treatment. She wanted to explain that by galactic standards, these humans had been treated exceptionally well. She looked at the weeping soldier, at the others standing in their silent lines, at their eyes which held something she had never seen in any prisoner. Not fear, not relief, not gratitude. Controlled discipline buried beneath layers of training and duty, but they're undeniable. Your people hate us, Valorous whispered. My people are capable of many emotions. Hate is one of them. Sloane stepped closer, but here's what you need to understand. These soldiers hate you. They hate everything you represent, and yet not one of them will act on that hate. Not because they're afraid, because they're better than that. Sloane turned to the prisoners. Load up. Lines moved. The soldiers filed into the transport. The young man with the scar paused at the ramp, looked back at Valorous, and held her gaze for a long moment. Then he boarded. Sloane was the last to enter. She stopped at the ramp and looked back at the facility, at the guards, at Valorous. Your people made a mistake when you came to Earth, not because you attacked us, because you assumed we were like you, that we would respond like you, that we would negotiate like you, that we would hate like you. She stepped onto the ramp. We're not like you. We've never been like you, and the sooner your species understands that, the sooner we can all go back to ignoring each other. The ramp closed. The transport rose. Valorous watched until it disappeared into the clouds. Then she sat down on the ground and tried to understand what she had just witnessed. The humans had won the war. They had the power to destroy the rigor. They had the right to demand anything. They had asked for nothing. They had taken nothing. They had simply taken their people and gone home. Valorous looked up at the sky. We were so wrong, she whispered, about everything. The sky offered no response. It never did. The humans didn't need to threaten, didn't need to conquer, didn't need to prove anything. They just needed to exist, and that Valorous finally understood was the most terrifying thing of all. The assembly chamber looked different now. The seats were the same. The species were the same, but something had shifted, something fundamental. Counselor Mayerin stood at the podium. Her patterns reflected calm, but every being in the chamber could sense the tension beneath. The assembly will now vote on Amendment 1 to Article 0. The words echoed through the chamber. 3,000 species, 3,000 votes, 3,000 chances to get it right. The first rose. Images formed. The amendment rewrites Article 0 as follows. No assembly member will approach within 10 light years of the Sol system without prior notification and approval from human authorities. Violations will result in immediate expulsion from the assembly and coordinated military response from all member species. Vosk, still serving as Ridijar ambassador despite everything, raised his manipulator arms. The Ridger vote yes. One by one the votes came in. Vendari, the Varith species who had never spoken to humanity, species who had never heard of humanity until 3 months ago, the vote was unanimous. Article 0 had stood for 3,000 years. As a warning, it would now stand forever. As a law, Mirn turned to a screen at the back of the chamber. Director Sloane. The Assembly has voted. Amendment 1 is adopted. Sloane's face appeared. She was in her garden again, tending her flowers. She looked up at the screen with an expression that might have been satisfaction. Thank you, Counselor. The human people appreciate the Assembly's wisdom. The Assembly appreciates your people's restraint. Sloane smiled, not the smile of victory, the smile of someone who had just finished a long and unpleasant task. Restraint is easier when you don't want anything. We never wanted your territory, Counselor. we never wanted. Your resources, we never wanted your wars or your politics or your endless debates, we just wanted to be left alone, and now you will be. Yes, we will. Sloane stood brushing dirt from her hands, but here's something to think about. We're not the only species out here. The galaxy is full of civilizations. Most of them are older than us. Most of them are more advanced than us. Most of them think they understand the universe. She walked toward the screen. Her image grew larger. None of them understand humanity. Not really. You see our wars and think we're violent. You see our divisions and think we're weak. You see our patience and think we're afraid. She stopped. Her eyes held the assembly. We're not violent, we're passionate. We're not weak, we're adaptable. We're not afraid, we're calculating. She reached toward the screen, and for a moment, every being in the chamber felt as if she were reaching toward them. Personally, leave us alone, that's all we ask. Respect that, and we will never trouble you again. Violate that and you will learn what the VH learned, what the Ridger learned, what every species who has ever tested us has learned. She stepped back. Humanity doesn't want to be the galaxy's police. We don't want to be its conquerors. We don't want to be its saviors. We just want to be its neighbors, quiet, peaceful, left alone. The transmission ended. The chamber remained silent. Min looked at the empty screen, at the 3,000 representatives, at the future stretching out before them. Changed forever. The assembly is adjourned. Representatives filed out. They spoke in hushed tones. They calculated what this meant for their species. They wondered, despite everything, if the humans could be trusted. Valoris, the Ridger intelligence officer who had watched the prisoners leave, stood in the observation gallery. She had requested this assignment. She wanted to see how the assembly responded. She wanted to understand what the humans had done. Her communicator chimed. A message from Ridger High Command. Analysis complete. Human military capability exceeds previous estimates by 3 orders of magnitude. Recommend permanent avoidance of SAW system. Recommend permanent avoidance of any system containing human vessels. Recommend permanent avoidance of any species that has established diplomatic relations with humanity. Valoris read the message twice, then she deleted it. She didn't need a report to tell her what she already knew, that humans had won without firing a shot, without conquering a world, without demanding a single concession. They had simply shown up, demonstrated what they could do, and walked away. Galaxy would never be the same because the galaxy had finally learned what humanity had been trying to teach for 3,000 years. Leave them alone, not because they were dangerous, because they were human, and humans, when pushed, did something no other species could do. They pushed back.